Hello and welcome to Fantasy Access Week 2. Let's go.
Let's go.
We're back in the studio.
Right.
We're down a man. Put him on IR. No, he's just gone for the week. Couldn't make it today, so no Tim, but Jared Colbert, Cam Sezak here to bring you Fantasy Access Week 2. And we finally had some football.
Finally got to watch a whole week's worth of football.
And it was great. We were out in the backyard. Awesome. We, got the smoker going, made a day of it. It was a good time to be back in the fall and back with football on TV. Red Zone. If you're playing fantasy this year, try to get in front of a red zone at some point this year.
It's great.
Just every touchdown, so many plays. They bounce around different drives, and you just get a heavy dose of football.
You keep up with everything.
Right.
It's awesome.
Any big play they'll show you. I mean, if you have one guy you want to watch the whole time, then maybe you're going to watch that game. But if you want to see all your players and all the big things happen around the league, right. Red Zone's awesome. Didn't mean to do a Red Zone promo there, but
there you go.
We just love it,
Yeah.
So just nice to be back with some football. We had the draft season and all the anticipation, and we got to see some of it come to fruition finally.
I know.
And
it's
nice.
Confirmed a lot of biases you've had or predictions you've had, or completely flip what you thought, and
what the heck?
You're devastated and scrambling already.
So we're going to get into some of those reactions in our first segment, but we will start things off like we usually do with just a quick question of the day. Last week we did the Super Bowl champs. The other big accolade in the football season is the NFL MVP. So, Jared, who do you have for this year's NFL MVP?
I'm going early prediction. I'm going to say Josh Allen.
Ooh.
I think he's had a lot of success in his career so far. I don't think he's won MVP yet. It's been a lot of Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jacksons recently. But if he can be this...
Just got to put the team on his back.
Right. If he can be this dual threat quarterback that takes these Bills to the playoffs, it'll be really impressive, and I think he will deserve that honor.
I like it. Yeah, it's hard not to pick one of the other two.
Right.
Between Jackson and Mahomes, but maybe I'll I don't know. It's too hot. I was gonna say
it's early.
So who my Super Bowl contending team was the Lions. And
right.
I want to say Jared Goff just has a career year.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't take Lamar or Mahomes, I guess maybe you could throw Goff in there. It would be out of character. He doesn't run the ball much.
Yeah.
But he's got a team that if he's throwing a ton of touchdowns,
if he's the leader of one of the best teams,
then maybe he's got a shot. If he keeps it, doesn't turn the ball over, and keeps them just putting teams away, high point totals, maybe he's got a shot at it. So. A little bit off the beaten path on that one, but hey, that's what we do here. Spicy takes, right?
Why not? Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, let's see. Oh, so the graphics work, but that was the wrong one. We're not going to chop it up just yet, but something to look forward to. We are getting into just our takeaways from this weekend. Like we said earlier, there's a lot to see, a lot of things we thought were going to go one way, went another. There's some surprises, some disappointments. So Jared, other than it being just excellent to have it back, what were some of the big takeaways from this past weekend?
So off the bat, I'm going to jump with Cooper Kupp was the steal of the draft, no matter where he was taken, because he was probably taken behind where he's going to finish.
Yeah, was he the third or fourth round sometimes?
Yeah, third or fourth round. In an 8-man league, he went in the 7th round. People just kept passing on him, including myself, which I'm super bummed about. But I had Kyron at that point.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to, and I already had I had Achan and Hill, and I didn't want to double up again on on a duo.
Put all your eggs in one basket.
But maybe I should have, because Cooper Kupp, granted, he set a career high in targets last Sunday night. But if that's a sign of, just the kind of volume he's going to get, Puka went down with injury. And then on top of that, he looked like himself. He ran the ball well, no problems there. So if you just get Cooper Kupp of old without even with the bonus of Puka not being there is, on top of that, like he looked good while Puka was still on the field. So if you get some semblance of that, he'll be awesome.
Yeah. I have to agree with that one. That was a bummer to see Puka go down, but yeah, that's Cooper Kupp 2 years ago, healthy and just a target monster.
Right.
Plus he's with Stafford still. Like there's not a whole lot changed. So you should expect good things, I think, coming out of that one. I got kind of a general one, but just the difference in like the top QBs and then like everybody else just feels like such a like watching some of those other teams try to put up points. Even the Steelers didn't score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers didn't score. I don't think they scored a touchdown.
Probably not.
There was another team that was just.
I mean, the Bears technically didn't score an offensive touchdown.
The Bears didn't score an offensive touchdown. Yeah, so that's just wild to me. That like you've got Josh Allen rushing for 2 and throwing for 2. You've got Lamar Jackson had a good game. Mahomes had a good game, but then that drop off hits and it's just such a deep fall. And not that I'm not expecting that. And a couple of those guys were rookies, but like it just hurts the whole like touchdown scoring amount for all the other players involved.
Right.
You think maybe George Pickens, the wide receiver 1 with the Steelers, had probably a pretty good chance to score, and they didn't score a touchdown. So like, I don't know. There's just a lot of those like mid players that you're hoping are fantasy like relevant that unless the QB play comes around, it's going to be kind of like a drop off. Like you want players on teams with good quarterbacks is kind of my big takeaway.
Right. A lot of 3 and outs, a lot of not moving the ball downfield, or in case of Pittsburgh, a lot of not scoring in the red zone.
Right.
Kick plenty of field goals, but that doesn't help the offensive weapons.
So I'm hoping that return to the mean a little bit. I think there was a stat that was like almost half of the touchdowns from like 4 years ago on opening day. It was like 60 something. And this past weekend, it was like 30 something.
It was a very
like
low scoring
insane
week.
Like drop off.
Right. Everyone was disappointed with their players because hardly anyone scored.
Unless you had like Saquon, Josh Allen.
Right.
It's the guys that did put up a couple touchdowns, but there was not enough to go around. So hopefully that kind of goes back to the mean and we get a little bit more action across the board.
Yeah. Kind of speaking of quarterbacks in that sense, Jaden Daniels is exactly who we thought he was.
Oh, so good.
Rushed in a couple of touchdowns. I think those were their only touchdowns on the night. And it's, his throwing isn't going to be there. Like the Commanders' offense just overall isn't that good. Their defense isn't good, so they're never really going to be in any short yardage situation. But Jaden Daniels will run it in every once in a while, pretty often. He'll run a lot. I don't know how many yards he had running. He had 88 yards, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing. Right, 17 for 24, 17 out of 24 for 184 yards throwing, which that's fine. That's pretty good. Yeah. But that's not why you drafted Jaden Daniels. You drafted him for the rushing, and seems like he'll deliver on that pretty consistently.
I agree. I like that one. I guess this is maybe in relation just to the quarterback thing I was just talking about, but I feel like the wide receiver ones, like Jamar Chase didn't have a great game. AJ Brown did okay, but Amon-Ra, not what you
St.
wanted.
Brown, nothing. Olave, nothing. Drake London didn't do great.
Right.
Marvin Harrison.
The other, the Jets.
Wilson.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson. There was just so many of those highly drafted, like wide receiver ones that you really were relying on that just didn't come through, and it was just strange.
Yeah.
I could think some of it might come back to that quarterback drop off because some of those guys are on those teams, but like Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns, but didn't go to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Burrow played awful, and like that whole team looked bad. So there's Chase. I guess maybe he was going through an illness or whatever, but just kind of a disappointing week one again with scoring, but not only for the quarterbacks, but for these some of these top wide receivers that you thought would be kind of like foolproof in that sense.
I mean,
that they're going to get theirs.
St. Brown was the definition of consistency last year.
Yeah,
it was just nothing.
So I mean, Jameson Williams had a good game, but like it took huge plays for any receivers to be relevant this week. So it was just kind of a strange, maybe it's just a strange week one, but again, that's all we're working on right now. And that's kind of just a strange takeaway so far.
For sure. And my last takeaway from week one is that tight end one this year is wide open. There's it's not guaranteed anymore. I mean, it was Kelsey for years and years and years, and then Laporta got off to a strong start, and he closed it, and it was kind of seeming like, well, it's just going to be Laporta or Kelsey again, and just across the board, except for some surprise picks like Isaiah Likely, it was just dud after dud after dud for the tight end position this week. And so it's just like, whoever wants it, they can get it and be that top tight end this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a kind of a nasty landscape. Right now. Hopefully we can get some clarity on who's going to be involved. My last one was just that some of these rookie wide receivers, a lot of times I feel like it takes a year for them really to emerge, but we got Xavier Worthy last Thursday having a good game. Thomas Jr., we saw him get targeted. Keon Coleman got targeted. Had another one there. Well, Marvin Harrison, I think that was kind of a fluke. I think he'll get his. But I guess the point is, I just feel like we're going to have this year some good.
Right, McConkey.
McConkey was led the
touchdown.
team. And so I think there's going to be some good rookie wide receiver performances. And that's always fun. You got high hopes for these guys coming in, and to see them, not always, they might not blow up right away, but you can play them, right now and not feel like horrible about it. They all got enough targets to be like, you could play a flex or like a wide receiver 3 spot. So it's kind of nice that like you have that excitement for these guys, and it's kind of coming to fruition.
Being able to pay off right away.
And it just makes it exciting to have like new guys on the scene that are making a difference.
Which is interesting because I think the fantasy community has caught up recently with that. Like rookies can be good right out the gate. I mean, we saw Malik Neighbors was the highest drafted wide receiver ever. If it wasn't for the fact that Marvin Harrison then smashed that as well and became the highest wide receiver ever in the same year. So a lot of people are wising up to the fact that these wide receivers are so good and maybe are overpaying for them, but it seems like right out the gate, no, these guys are part of these teams, they're part of the systems, right? Thomas Jr. scored, McConkey, like they're being targeted in the red zone. Like these guys are good, and it was so far seemingly worth the picks that people were willing to spend.
I agree. I do think Marvin Harrison will come along.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is actually top of our Chop It Up segment. Chop. So this segment, we like to just kind of take some topics, some players, whatever it is around the league, and just kind of give our take on it and see, what we think it's going to trend or, which way, it'll play out. So our first one is Marvin Harrison, which we were just saying, and I'm not too worried. Are you concerned? Where's your worry meter on Harrison?
Definitely not too concerned. That was just kind of a tough, that was just a tough offensive day for the Cardinals anyways.
Yeah.
Kyler kind of got his own with his rushing a little bit, but the throwing wasn't really there. Dortch, I think, led the team in receptions and yards. Trey McBride didn't really have a good day. It was really just not that great kind of all the way around. And like the talent is there. It's you can't ignore the talent forever. Like he'll get open, he'll find a way. They'll watch this tape, see what they did wrong, and they'll give Marvin Harrison the ball because he's one of their best players.
Right. Agreed. I think week 1, maybe like they weren't pushing it downfield all that much. Just trying to maybe settle into that offense a little bit. Preseason's great, but not everybody plays. And I think there's just maybe a little bit of like growing pains with the new team. And also, give credit to the Bills probably didn't want them going deep. So they took what they were giving them, which is kind of what Kyler said in his press conferences after that. He's like, I'm just going through the progressions and, ball goes where the ball needs to go. So you got to respect that. I do think they're going to design plays and opportunities for Marvin Harrison Jr. and his talent will come through. And you just maybe got to let that settle a little bit and him get into his season and, more practices, more game more game reps. And I think that'll fall right back into place.
Yeah. Sure.
The next one is we've got the saga happening in San Francisco with McCaffrey and his injury. Will he play? Will he not? Is he hurt? Is he fine? Is he in? Is he out? Monday night, he ended up being a very late scratch, being out, left people scrambling. But backup Jordan Mason came in and crushed.
Right.
And that hats off to that running game in San Fran. It's been good for years, regardless of who's carrying the ball.
In years past, it was Elijah Mitchell stepping in and being fantasy relevant right away. And so
it's always
a lot of the strategy historically has been, because McCaffrey has had some injury concerns, it has been take the backup as it like
backup.
Normally you don't want to draft someone that's just injury insurance, but when it's for Christian McCaffrey, when it's for this offense, you're willing.
It's an instant running back one.
Right,
almost.
You're willing to keep them on the bench, and so hopefully if you had CMC, you were able to get Jordan Mason, so you could flip them in. I've had some friends that were kind of screwed because on Monday nights, if you're in a league where you can't drop players that have already played, they had nowhere for McCaffrey to go on the bench, and then you couldn't really pick anyone up.
Tough, yeah. There's pros and cons to that for sure. A lot of people were stuck, but it was good to see. That guy was, Mason was great, and if you were able to pick him up on waivers, or you could if you drafted him, and like you're saying behind McCaffrey, then you're gonna keep 80% of the production that you're gonna get.
Right, for sure. Was it RB5 last week?
That's pretty good.
Right.
So I think moving on throughout the season, hopefully McCaffrey gets right. He's the 101. Everybody, drafted him first, and you're expecting big things. It's a bummer you didn't get him this week. Maybe next week.
Probably not next week either.
Right. But hopefully when he does come back, he's healthy. He's good for your team. And in the meantime, if you do or don't have Mason, if you got him, enjoy that.
Right. If you got him, enjoy it. But hopefully what this means is the 49ers feel no need to rush McCaffrey back. Obviously, you want him back as early as possible, but when he does come back, you want him back for the rest of the season.
Right.
So if that means, one other week, but it means, weeks 4 through 17, you're able to get the best version of CMC, then I think you'd take that.
I think that's what the Niners want as well.
Yeah.
So he's good for the playoffs and everything. Because I think they threw a couple passes to Mason, but not the usual workload that McCaffrey will get.
Yeah. 1 target, 1 reception, 5 yards. So.
That part wasn't there as much, but still. So that's kind of we'll see what happens with McCaffrey. Then he'll be at the top of the news, each week on that until he's back. Next thing, how did you think Aaron Rodgers first came back? It was something like, I forget the number, but 2 years since he's played a game almost. Crazy.
Yeah, bunch. He did all right. He looked pretty good. Tough opponent to go up against. And the 49ers defense is pretty good. They are, they did just go to the Super Bowl. But he didn't look crazy. And I wasn't expecting Aaron Rodgers, from 5 years ago, MVP Aaron Rodgers. I wasn't expecting that. But they had a competent quarterback who they did have a touchdown drive. And so definitely an improvement over the quarterback play from last year. Hopefully that was shaking off some rust. And you like to see, Garrett Wilson
do a little bit more.
He was targeted pretty early and often, but then I think it kind of waned towards the end of the game. But
I was not impressed by the Jets, but I kind of feel like I need to give them like we all had high hope, like they're going to be good, one of the top teams, like Aaron Rodgers, some good receiving weapons, Breece Hall, best, one of the best running backs, and a defense that should be like unbelievable. And San Fran kind of didn't care.
Yeah.
Kind of ran through them. And then the offense was kind of, not anything crazy.
Right.
So, but, San Fran's a Super Bowl team. They're playing great. They have an excellent run scheme and an excellent line. They retained all their pieces from the past couple of years, and it's a tough game for the Jets. So on the road too. So I don't want to take too much away from it, but so far the Jets didn't look wow yet. But there's still the potential there.
Yeah, and they get a chance against Tennessee. So
yeah, we'll see.
If there's ever a time to make some believers out of us.
Right.
It's week 2.
So maybe a bounce back game there. We touched on it earlier, but the Puka news, bummer. He was drafted, right at that 1-2 turn in a lot of leagues. Everyone was expecting big things. So, Kupp gets a bump. Maybe you're looking at Demarcus Robinson or that something Johnson.
Not sure, but
so those are the other two guys, and
the tight end. Colby Parkinson got some work.
So there could be opportunity for other guys there that you could grab them off their waiver wire, maybe grab one and hope that they materialize. But yeah, it's just a bummer. Those there's always one or two each week that somebody gets hurt, and you're like, it can really hurt your team.
Right. There was nothing season ending, but he did get put on IR, so that's at least 4 games.
Right.
He'll be out.
So yeah, bummer there. Try to grab one of those guys if you had him, but he will be back, so that's good. Yeah. Again, another thing we kind of touched on in our week 1 observations, but the tight end madness. There's no good ones.
It was tough. It was tough.
Isaiah Likely had a great game.
I mean, the good news is whoever you play, if you're disappointed in your tight end play, your opponent was too, and it was all a wash.
Right. I mean, Isaiah Likely, and then Kyle Pitts and Juwan Johnson scored touchdowns, but that was pretty much it.
Right.
No Laporta, Trey McBride,
Brock Bowers had a good game based off PPR solely.
True, yeah.
The 6 catches was nice.
So I guess, like we said earlier, keep an open mind. Try to find some good target shares, offenses that kind of can get things going, and create some opportunities. And yeah, it's tough.
Right, chalk it up to a weird week.
Just we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Man. Except whoever spent a ton of fab on Isaiah Likely, maybe they got a good one.
Right, maybe they're hoping that that's just the way it goes forever.
Yeah. Another hot topic: Achane and Mostert, both with injury designations.
Which
Mostert ruled out for tonight.
Yeah, Mostert's out. Achane's a game time decision, which is good because it's a Thursday night. It's the Thursday game. You have plenty of opportunity to pivot.
True.
Better than Monday night being we'll wait and see. But obviously, if you have Achane, you kind of drafted him to start, and you're hoping he's able to play. Had a good week last week. But also, when you did draft Achane and Mostert, this is kind of what you expected. This is par for the course. There are going to be some injury concerns along the way.
I think Achane missed 5 or 6 games last year.
Yeah.
Mostert played a lot of the year. Maybe he had 1 or 2 that he missed too.
I think he had a couple. Yeah. It's just a couple things that keep you out for the 1 week.
Yeah.
And Mostert's nothing super serious. Obviously, he's not playing, but
right. So, I think if he plays, we play him, right?
If Achane plays, you play. Yeah. There's no.
They're not going to put him out there and not.
Right.
And otherwise, just hold him out.
Right. Most of his success came in the passing game last week. He did get a touchdown on the ground. Which I think that was a goal line opportunity, which normally never went to Achane, always went to Mostert. So I think it is a sign that the team's willing to trust Achane just a little bit more.
Yep.
Mostert had a really down week. So I think if Achane is playing, they are willing to lean on him that much more. They're not going to force Jeff Wilson to kind of be that Mostert.
But
Mostert
Jeff Wilson
player.
And that Jalen Wright.
They are there.
Supposed to get some run tonight.
Right. They could get a
Mostert's
boost.
not. I mean, Achane gets 10 to 15 touches. He's not like a 25 touch guy.
Yeah.
So one of those other guys probably will be involved.
Right. And it was, Wright wasn't active last week, but Wilson kind of got the opportunities in that fourth quarter when both Achane and Mostert were dealing with the injuries. So I'm leaning towards it being Wilson, especially with Wright being a rookie.
Yeah.
But then if Achane doesn't play, then I think Wilson definitely gets
almost
the
seems like
bulk of the share.
Yeah, Jalen Wright might be more of an Achane backup, whereas Wilson feels like more of a Mostert backup, and with Mostert out, maybe then it's Wilson that kind of gets.
So Wilson, you can if you're really searching, you could play Wilson kind of either way. But if Achane's out, then you could probably really throw him in. Jalen Wright, I think I'd only play if Achane was out, and if you're kind of really just kind of hoping for a random.
I almost wouldn't mind
game.
stashing either one of those guys if you can. And we just said that both Mostert and Achane have a tendency to maybe miss a game here and there, and then just remember, this week's game, week 2, Thursday Night Football. What happened when Mostert was out, and then if you got a spot start in the future where Mostert's out again, then that's kind of you got a little bit of something to go off of there. So kind of a wait and see, I think, tonight.
Yeah,
but both good high upside kind of stashes.
Right. And
there's multiple backs.
The offense is great.
Yeah. Well, that was properly chopped.
Yeah.
That section, I would say.
Diced even.
We got 2 more though. We got Joe Burrow and the. What happened to those Bengals? Was the Pats D just so stellar? I mean, they did create two turnovers in plus territory.
I saw a stat that Zach Taylor, the head coach for the Bengals, is 1-10 in his career in the first 2 weeks of the season. Oof. So I think they're just a slow team.
Not quick out of the gate.
Right. Especially Burrow coming off an injured, riddled year last year. They had no Higgins. Jamar Chase didn't really practice too much in the preseason. So I think it was just a bit too rusty kind of all around.
Yeah. And the Patriots D look good. They look prepared.
Maybe,
I don't think they're like the most talented team. They don't have the firepower, but
it's a new
they can be prepared and they can be ready.
It's a new coach, but he was on the staff last year. So there's some continuity there, right? Mm-hmm. The defense is mostly intact. Obviously,
it looks great.
Right. There's a change at the quarterback. There's a change, hoping for some wide receivers to pull through, but defense is more or less the same with a defensive-minded coach at the helm. And so it shouldn't be too surprising that the defense of the Patriots look good.
And Ramondre looked all right.
Yeah.
Got a ton of touches, and they moved the ball.
I mean, he's their best player on offense, and they relied on him.
So Patriots could have been a lot worse. So, you got to tip their hat to them. Came out with a victory, and they just did. I mean, that's a very Patriot way win by doing the little things right and, not turning the ball over and playing good D. Right. So we can get behind that. And
then the Bengals, they have the Chiefs again this week. So
tough start.
Maybe 1-11 for Zach Taylor in the first couple of weeks there.
And then the one last thing was the Friday game. Another probably right up there with the Puka injury is the Jordan Love injury, QB for the Packers.
I thought he was a goner.
It looked a little nasty with the knee pop.
Right.
And it was like, I don't know, it was kind of dumb. He had already gotten rid of the ball kind of.
It was while he was trying to get rid of it. It was,
he was already held up, and it was just like this final tip him over type of thing.
Yeah.
And his leg just kind of bent the wrong way.
Just one of those things, trying to send a Hail Mary to win the game. But sometimes it's like, maybe you should just go down. Maybe crumple, be a rag doll a little bit.
Yeah. So, again, not season ending there, but going to be out a few weeks.
And it definitely hurts the receivers.
It's not like any of those receivers are so stellar by themselves already yet that we're kind of excited about them as a group.
Right.
But
collectively, we're stoked about them.
Yes.
But it's picking who's the best one, and maybe they're all kind of even, which kind of eats into each other a little bit.
Right. And not one of them strong enough to kind of stand on their own with a backup quarterback. So seems a little questionable. That kind of questions the whole offense. Is Josh Jacobs going to take a hit, or does he get a bump for all the extra carries?
Right.
I don't know. So, again, that's kind of you're going to probably roll Jacobs out there and probably Jaden Reed. but just have tempered
right.
expectations, I guess.
Right. I think Jaden Reed, he was, he was the most effective with the ball. They used Watson enough, and I think, funnily enough, Dobbs was the snap leader, but he got way less targets. So the target leaders were Reed and Watson, and that's kind of right. It's tough to tell right now because Malik Willis is not a good NFL quarterback.
He'll fit right in with half the league.
Right. He just joined the league just joined the team at the end of the preseason, so it's kind of tough to tell. But Reed had some jet sweeps and end arounds, so maybe they'll use him in the running game a bit more.
Yep.
So I think I still like Reed's kind of upside and the fact that when he does have the ball, he's just kind of electric with it.
Yeah, I think you could probably play either, definitely Jacobs, probably Reed, or just kind of hope for the best. And, we don't know. It might be just a couple weeks, too, with Love out. So
they did not put him on IR. So they have hope that he can come back within the next 4 weeks at least.
Right. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Everybody's favorite segment, the hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. These don't have to be as hot takey, but we did get just some predictions here where we've got a bounce back player for week 2. We got somebody who might underperform this week. A smash spot, which is just like, fill it up. Give me that guy. I want him in my lineup. Who will be the week 2 wide receiver one, and who will be the week 2 running back one?
Is that the biggest definition for smash spot we've ever gotten on the show? That's what that means. Okay.
Tim's not here to ask any
even here
questions.
to had to ask it for him.
Yeah. Some predictions, however bold you want, but let's see. Bounce back player for week 2. Who you got?
Week 2, I got. Dare I say, there's going to be a tight end that bounces back, and it's going to be Dalton Kincaid.
Oh, I like that pick.
Tonight, against the Dolphins. Dolphins, who'd they play last week? I'm already forgetting.
The Bills played the Cardinals last week.
Who did the Dolphins play? They played the Jaguars.
Yeah, exactly.
And Evan Ingram didn't have... no tight end had a great game. But I think Dalton Kincaid, Dolphins kind of typically always kind of end up in shootouts.
That's how
they have an electric offense, but their defense is not that great. And you got the Bills, who had a lot of questions about their wide receivers and their receiving threats in general. Josh Allen, didn't throw a touchdown, but he ran for 2, so that kind of took away from the explosiveness of the receivers. But Coleman looked good. Shakir looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Kincaid struggled because all tight ends did. But I think after last week, any defense against the Bills is going to have to respect Coleman and Shakir a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll hopefully open up the game for Kincaid, in the short to medium game. And Coleman looked good, but Kincaid's still their best receiving threat.
Yeah.
And they'll find him the ball. They'll make sure to get it to him.
I like it. My bounce back player is none other than Jonathan Taylor. Had an okay week last week. Did get in the end zone. Not a ton of carries. Didn't catch any passes.
Mm-hmm.
But he only threw like under 20, I think.
Richardson had 9 completions.
9 completions. Yeah. So, but what I like about this is last week, Saquon played the Packers, and this week the Colts played the Packers. And I think Jonathan Taylor, if Saquon can run all over him, I think JT's just, same caliber kind of player. He should be able to get through that defense as well. And without Jordan Love on the Packers, I do feel like the Colts can kind of get up early and just hammer with Jonathan Taylor. So it's a good game script. It's a good, defensive matchup. And he did play almost every offensive snap. So, he's their guy. And, I think it's just kind of the way it went with Richardson. And Richardson will probably get, his own rushing yards and some deep passes. That's kind of his thing. He's kind of a all or nothing big time player. But I think once they get up, it's just going to be Jonathan Taylor time. And I'm going to be there for it.
The Packers do have some good cornerbacks. So maybe, the takeaway from that week 1 is, run the ball against the Packers.
So, JT bounce back, having a good game this week.
All right.
So now you're underperforming player.
My underperform. This is going to be a back-to-back underperforming player. I alluded to it earlier, but Jamar Chase is going to have another disappointing game. It's the Bengals in week 2, which still counts for the 1-10 in weeks 1 and 2 stat for Zach Taylor. So they're slow starters against the Chiefs that, besides for Isaiah Likely, the Ravens could not throw the ball. Especially to, Zay Flowers did not have a great game in week 1. And another game, no Higgins again this week, or it doesn't look like there'll be Higgins again. Jamar Chase, again, didn't practice, skipped out on a lot of practices, so he's going to be a little slow. Burrow's still coming back. Great defense, and the Chiefs will be able to. The Chiefs shut down Mark Andrews, and I think they'll have a similar approach to the Bengals where they shut down Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I like it. I had underperforming was, and I guess maybe this is I can take a shot here because Tim's not here, but the Jets just didn't impress me, and I don't know that they are going to put it together right away.
Interesting.
Again, maybe we did talk about this with just maybe it was the matchup, but I just didn't think they looked all that good, and the hype did not match what they put out there. So maybe they put it together, but I could see them underperforming a couple weeks here and then get it maybe back on track.
All right.
Smash spot. Let's go.
Malik Neighbors.
Oh, yes.
He had a pretty good game week 1 against the who was it? Who did they play? Giants played the Vikings. So the Giants did not look good.
No.
By any measures, but Daniel Jones especially, which wouldn't you be a little worried if the quarterback that's supposed to get Neighbors all these throws does not look good at all? But it was because of how bad Daniel Jones looked that the fact that Neighbors had any sort of good performance at all is indicative that they're probably just going to have to rely on him more and more. It's only his second week as an NFL player, but he looks good already. He's their best wide receiver, and they get a crack at Washington. So, the Vikings aren't a great team, but maybe they're better than we thought. But Washington definitely is not a good team,
right? And
especially their defense.
I like that. My smash spot, I'm trying to look up, see who they're playing, but
they're playing the Texans.
That's right. Thank you. I got DJ Moore of the Bears. We got Keenan Allen hurt. You got Roma Dunze hurt, which maybe, that's going to put a little extra emphasis on him, but kind of same logic with Neighbors as it is DJ Moore. You got a star player, you're going to feed him the ball.
Right.
And, it might not hurt Caleb Williams to just kind of, look down his reads a little bit, not having all these options, kind of be like, all right, where's DJ Moore? Or, where's my tight end? However it's going to go. But I could see them feeding him a lot of targets and probably a good game out of DJ Moore.
Yeah. Look for your star wide receiver or dump it.
And when I was looking for the defenses, Texans are going to put up points. The Bears are going to throw all day. Even though the Bears D look pretty good. But still, they're going to, Texans are a high-powered offense. They're going to probably be able to put up points. Right. So you got to think that Williams is going to throw a lot.
And one of Williams' strengths in college was, extending the play.
Right.
And I feel like DJ Moore kind of thrives in.
Him and Justin Fields last year is where he was wide receiver 6 is kind of what I'm expecting this game.
That's what it was DJ Moore, 10 seconds into the play, is still, moving around, getting open.
So I feel like it's setting up nice for him. Wide receiver 1 this week.
My wide receiver 1 this week. He had a good league last week, finished as the wide receiver 4, despite getting rested earlier in the morning. But now he's coming back as the wide receiver 1. It's Tyreek Hill versus Buffalo.
Tonight.
Like I said, Miami tends to get in shootouts, and Buffalo's defense is a little bit more porous this year. So I'm thinking, why not get the guy who proved yet again that he's just as electric as he's always been. 7 for 130 and a touchdown last week. Almost good enough for wide receiver 1, but I think he does that little bit more
Yeah.
in that game.
So I also wrote down Tyreek Hill.
Nice.
But I just did think of another one that maybe is a little spicier, but still could probably do it. You've got Rashee Rice going up against the Cincinnati Bengals that did not look great.
Yep.
And, he was Worthy was involved. You've got Kelsey there, but that Rice-Mahomes connection has really come on, and I feel like it's not crazy to think he might get 2 touchdowns and, maybe break a long one on one of his slants.
Right. I mean, 7 for 103 last week,
wouldn't take much.
Right. Yeah. He finds the end zone on one of those catches, and all of a sudden he's a top 5.
Right. So that doesn't feel too crazy, but maybe
So
that's why it's in the hot takes section.
All right, so I'm gonna
and then RB1 on the week.
I'm gonna counter you a little bit, and I'm gonna say Isaiah Pacheco is the running back 1.
I would love that.
Versus Cincinnati, right? A bad, team that got off to a bad start. I already predicted that Jamar Chase would underperform, so I'm already saying that it's going to continue to be a bad start for the Bengals. And I think a lot of that is, maybe the Chiefs just kind of go up early and they're able to run it a lot. Pacheco's also a threat to catch some passes, so I think overall he just kind of puts together a great performance.
An RB1 performance.
Yeah.
I like that. And for my RB1, I'm going to go with one of the top 3 guys, but I think Bijan bounces back and has a good week. He can do it any week, I think. But I think with Kirk Cousins a little bit not having the best game, I think they're all going to want to, take us another step forward and show that offense is good. And I think Bijan's kind of the centerpiece still that can kind of take them there.
And it could be an adjustment where Kirk Cousins was getting sacked left and right, so maybe it's just quick, right? Swing it out to Bijan, swinging around to the outside. Yeah,
he's going to get it done in the passing game and the running game. He could even score in the passing and the running game. Right. So he's definitely a threat every play.
And the other benefit is he plays Monday night, so he'll get to check and see who the fantasy leader is.
Yeah, just
right before game, and just be like, I just gotta get exactly.
All right. So there's some picks. Maybe you agree with us, and you could start those guys, or whatever it is. But
probably starting most of these guys anyway.
That's true.
But now you
feel confident.
Right now, you can get excited about it.
Yeah. So good stuff. Getting into our pick'ems. Our games this week, we got the Bills and the Fins tonight. Should be a good one. That's kind of always an exciting in-division matchup these days. So I don't know. You got the spreads on all these?
So yeah, I did pull up the spreads tonight at Miami, and Miami is -1. So close game, almost. Oh no, I was looking at. Oh, to open it was -1, but currently it's -2.5. I was looking in the wrong spot. So we'll take it -2.5.
Yes. I can go ahead. I'm going to take the Bills.
All right. Bills, and I'll play devil's advocate. I'll take the Fins at home.
All right.
I picked them to make it to the Super Bowl, so I might as well kind of back that up and say they'll win today.
Yeah, I guess I just like what I saw to Josh Allen last week, and I think he, it's not his usual cast that we've been used to, but I think he's got some playmakers, and just like Mahomes has done, regardless of his receivers. I mean, he's had Kelsey, but he just makes it work because he's good, with whoever he's got out there, and there's enough talent out there between Kincaid and Coleman and Shakir and everything. I think he can get it done. So
I'm just kind of hoping that the Dolphins just kind of outshoot the Bills at home.
Yeah. All right.
And
Then our games, we've got the Pats against the Seahawks and the Jets at the Titans.
So Pats are home, but it's the Seahawks that are 3.5-point favorites.
I think if the Pats can beat the Bengals, why can't they beat the Seahawks?
All right,
So
so
I'll
you're
go
taking the Pats. I am also going to take the Pats, and I'll take the points.
Maybe we can get Tim to text in his answers.
Oh, I'm sure we can get him to.
Yeah. And then the Jets Titans.
Mm-hmm. We got where do they go? Oh, Titans are at home, but it is the Jets that are 4-point favorites right now.
I got to follow what I was saying earlier with the underperforming.
I was going to say, you just said they'd
I'm gonna go
underperform.
with the Titans. Sorry, Jets. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, so I also didn't think the Jets looked that good week one, but you know who looked terrible week one? It was the Titans. And so I think if there's ever a get-right game, it's when you get to feast on Will Levis and that Titans defense. So I will take the Jets, which is something I don't lightly do.
There you go.
And if we wanted to, you looking up the games, see which one you want to pick.
See which ones we got here. A couple good ones on the slate. Do you have one?
Yeah, I think I remember. Oh, so last week I took the Chargers. That worked out for me pretty well. This week I'm gonna follow it up. I don't often go for road teams, just because I feel like the safer bet is always a team you feel confident at home. But with the Steelers at Denver, I feel pretty confident that the Steelers can double up on their great defensive performance last week and really make, like, if the Steelers can make Kirk Cousins struggle, I think they can make Bo Nix sweat it out a little bit and make some mistakes. And the Steelers are -2.5 road favorites.
Nice. And I'm going to pick the Chicago-Houston game.
All right.
I want to know what the spread is on that.
I got Houston -6.5.
I'm going to do it.
So,
give me my Bears.
Bears.
It's crazy, but let's see.
Bears on the road on Sunday night. Caleb Williams' first primetime game.
He shines under the big lights, you know?
Yeah. hasn't scored a touchdown yet or led his team to score an offensive touchdown, and he hasn't thrown for 100 yards yet.
So wouldn't it be a surprise?
Yeah, it certainly makes you think that way, yeah. But that's why you get the 6.5 points.
That's right. Got those with me. Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
We don't have. Tim has a sheet with our picks from last week, so I don't remember how we did, and I'm sure we'll get his picks. And
nice. Is Aaron Judge hit any more home runs?
I don't know. I can hold on
real quick. Tim will be proud of us for
remembering that.
Our baseball segment. Which I don't know why we talk about regular baseball on a fantasy show, but we do. No, yeah.
So he has 51.
What did he have last week?
Probably 51. That doesn't sound too much higher. And it's a far cry from the 60-something. 65 you predicted him to get?
He's going to turn it on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's your week 2 breakdown, fantasy advice. Hope your teams do well. If you need some bounce back players, hopefully they bounce, you know?
Yeah.
We're all hoping for
more offense,
more touchdowns, more big plays. What we like to see, makes it fun. But it's always good. So enjoy your week 2, and we'll see you back here next Thursday for some week 3 action. So long.